Welcome. Welcome, everyone, to She Speaks. We're going to cover a lot of ground today, and I want to keep it as close to 1 hour as possible, but there is so much I want to share with you. So we might go over a little bit, and if we do, and you have to run, just know that there is no reason that you shouldn't just exit quietly here. You know what's best for your life. And I don't need to, I don't want you to feel apologetic about leaving early if you need to leave early. But I'm going to give you, to start off, I'm going to give you a roadmap of where we're going because this is really important stuff. And I feel really, really honored to be able to share all of this with you. These teachings that I've learned over many, many years through many wonderful teachers who have helped me understand the key to pleasure, the power of the feminine, and the power of love and sexuality that lives within the feminine. And so, just so you know, I'm going to talk a lot today about women and the feminine. And I want you to understand that I recognize that there's not just this binary form of being man or woman. There is, however, a very unique experience that's associated with the feminine. And that mostly appears in people who were born women. But I want to open that up as an experience that is possible for the world. In fact, I believe that what we actually are missing in the world right now is the presence of the feminine, the honoring of the feminine. So that's my caveat. So, what we're going to do today, there's so much, like as I said, I'm getting chills already thinking about this. We're going to begin by talking about the story of Lilith, and Lilith being Adam's first wife in the Garden of Eden, and why her story relates so much to the modern woman's reclamation of her sexuality and her sovereignty, her power. That word sovereignty is so overused right now, but I think y'all know what I mean when I say it. It's personal agency. I'm also going to talk about the social conditioning that we have all been under, the spell that we have been under, and how to break it. And we're going to talk a lot more about the metaphysical understanding of your pussy and your pussy as an oracle of desire. My goal is to give you a taste of what it's like to listen to her because she has a lot to say about how to speak up in bed. And not only to listen to her, but to start to live in alignment with her and to stop abandoning yourself when the stakes are high, because the stakes are really fucking high right now. What I'm going to do after that, after we go into this Lilith and talking about how this relates to your life right now, is I'm going to share with you two ways that you can take what you've learned from today further. One offer is free and it's for you to do on your own. And the other is an offer that's a paid offer that's working with me. Now, what I'll say is that with all of my free workshops, I'm going to share something about the course that I offer, which is called The Heartbreak Cure. It's a course that is about helping women reclaim their power in love and sexuality. However, this free workshop, She Speaks, this is not a bait and switch. Like I've been to so many free workshops where I'm just like, oh my God, all they're doing is just selling their course without telling me that they're selling their course. My goal here is to actually offer you some value so that no matter what, you walk away with some very practical things that you can do tomorrow. So at the end, what I'll say is that you will have the chance to ask questions. And as I mentioned before I started the recording, you will only be recorded if you come on camera and ask a question. You can always use the chat to ask questions. But here's the thing is I don't, let me back that up. I don't record the Q&A is what I meant to say with this. I don't record the Q&A. So we're going to close the container. And then those of you who are joining me live will be able to take part in the Q&A. And again, you're welcome to go on camera, unrecorded, or put your questions in the chat. That's my promise to you about privacy and these free workshops that are posted on YouTube and available for people on my email list to watch, right? So I don't want to just have everyone's private faces and things unless they're completely in alignment with that. Some people love being on camera, okay? So I just want to offer any questions from the folks who are here live about the roadmap before we begin the primary content. You can drop them in the chat. Again, you can raise your hand. Seeing none, I'm going to carry on. So let's begin here. Let's begin by getting comfortable. I'll have you close your eyes for a moment. And as you close your eyes, alternatively, you can just gaze at something with your eyes open, but keep your eyes on one point. As you close your eyes, I want to invite you to feel the weight of your body. Feel its gravity. Feel the way your body presses down against the earth toward the mystery of the earth, mystery of the feminine, toward the mystery of love and sex and pleasure. And as you feel this gravity, this pressing against the earth, this pressing against the mystery, I want you to feel the place of your curiosity. Feel your intrigue. And as you feel your intrigue, feel the tingles of your voice that you have kept under lock and key for very good reason. Feel the voice that your grandmothers also suppressed out of fear of their own lives being taken. That was very real. And feel how now, in 2025, it is not the predominant narrative that we are under anymore. Feel that while there is still difficulty and challenge, and there are still patriarchal conditions against us, it's not the same as it once was. Feel that. Feel this earth re-emerging with a much older truth, something that is a remembering, something that is uncovering itself. Feel this resurgence of that feminine power of Eros, Eros being a divine form of love, sexual but beyond sexual, romantic but beyond romantic. Eros being a holy power that is here to replace these systems of war and oppression and dominance. This power of Eros is coming for you, coming for us, as much as we are coming for it. Sit with this for a moment. Sit with this feeling, feel it, and let it feel you back. Let it guide you to answer the question, what is the one thing that you would like to get out of attending this workshop today? As you name that for yourself, and open your eyes and come back to the screen. And I'd love to hear what you want to get from today. Love to hear you drop into the chat what you're hoping to get out of attending today. What sparked your interest? Why come to a workshop on finding your voice in bed when you could be doing so many other things? Freedom and safety. Yeah. Those are, yep. That summarizes it, I'd say. Freedom and safety that seem like they are opposite things, but actually they work in tandem together. Any other goals for or hopes or desires that you'd like to bring in to the chat today? Sit in grounded, open space to co-create love. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you. Yeah, that's exactly what the power of love is about, creating power with. So we think of power as something that is over, that has to like push down on us and hold someone back. But power is actually about co-creating, about creating space. That's the new power that's emerging right now. Other the chat here, we've got better understanding of potential blocks and barriers. Yep, absolutely. And then finally, I'm tired of feeling like my life is just passing by. Want to feel what it's like to be present, unafraid of pleasure. Why are we so afraid of pleasure? Such a perfect segue, such a perfect segue into talking about the myth of Lilith. There's a very good reason why we're actually afraid of pleasure. And I want to say this, that, when we look at how we've inherited these fears, we've inherited them from very well meaning sources. In many ways, we actually have inherited our fears of sexual pleasure from the women in our lives, right? Anyone drop in the chat like a thumbs up or something? Have you ever been slut shamed by another woman? Whether it's your mother, your grandmother, like, don't wear that. Too much lipstick. Don't drive in cars with boys. That was something that a friend of my mother, like, so my best friend's mother used to freak out if we were in a car with boys. Like, it was automatically going to mean we were going to have sex. Yeah. Yeah. I'm seeing some affirmation in the chat. Yeah. I want to say this. These are not bad women. These are women who are helping us to stay alive. When we receive messages that suppress us, a lot of times what's behind that is this idea of this need for survival. Like, like, I'm a mother. I want my kid to survive at all costs, right? And sometimes what that has looked like in the past is helping us stay within these limits and boundaries. Never be the slut, right? Because the slut is outcast. The slut doesn't get married. The slut doesn't have a respected life, right? How many movies have you seen? The Scarlet Letter, right? Like, all these movies about women who chose the slut path, and then they ended up having horrendous experiences. So let's talk about Lilith. Let's talk about Lilith. She is the original bad girl, the original slut. And she was probably the first woman to ever be slut shamed in the modern world culture. So if any of you ever have worked with me before, you know that I have a really special place in my heart for mythology. And there's a reason for it, right? Myths, for me, they hold this ability to see like these universal truths and universal patterns that have been named for centuries. And alongside that, there's always this thing that happens, that the myths are told by people. And guess what? People have agendas. People have agendas. Like our mothers telling us not to get in cars with boys. They have an agenda. And so they're going to tell the story in a certain way to meet that agenda. We all have it. And frankly, I will admit I have an agenda. My agenda is hopefully one that you all are aligned with. It's not wrong to have an agenda. In fact, I think you kind of should. Like, you should know what you value, right? You should know what you're about. We're not trying to manipulate. We're not trying to get you to believe something that you don't want to believe. But one of the things that we can do with mythology is by going into story, going into these universal stories, universal truths, we can begin to shape the way that we view certain things in life. Okay. Now, most of the myths that we've been told have been shared by schools or religious institutions. I saw somebody Catholic school in the chat. Yeah. Like, I mean, and I'm going to name the Bible is a form of mythology, right? It's not outside of Greek mythology, Vedic mythology, right? It's from an anthropological point of view, it is not like the Bible is truth and then the rest is just a bunch of stories, right? The Bible is as much mythology as anything else. So, what we want to do today is look at the story of Lilith and understand why this story has been told in such a way that makes us really, really afraid of asking for pleasure. So, I'll tell you about why Lilith came to me. I had an erotic theater project for a number of years. And what we did in that project was that we retold myths as a way to like break us free from this harmful suppression of our sexual natures. And so we retold the myths through an erotic lens and unspelled people is the way that I like to think about it, where these social conditioning spells were cast upon us. And by retelling the myth, you unspell and kind of respell in a more pleasurable way. So I had a script that I wrote that was about Adam and Eve. And there was one time, probably a year and a half ago, and I was talking to a few Jewish women that I knew, and I was telling them about this Adam and Eve story. And they're also sexual explorers. They're teachers of this as well. And they said to me, you know what, look, you can't tell the story of Adam and Eve unless you tell the story of Lilith. And being raised, I wasn't raised Christian, but being raised in a more Christian than Jewish community, I was like, I had never even really, I'd heard of Lilith a little bit, but I'd never really understood her significance at the same level that they did, because she is part of Jewish mythology, Jewish folklore. So that sent me down my favorite kind of rabbit hole. And I began to study Lilith and began to understand why they told me she was so important to understand if we're going to understand the story of Adam and Eve. So Lilith was Adam's first wife. She came before Eve. They were both made of the dust of the earth, Lilith and Adam. Whereas, as you remember, Eve was made from Adam's rib. So Lilith and Adam were actually equals. They weren't, he's created first and then she comes. Lilith and Adam were both created of the dust of the earth. Now, what's interesting, Lilith is not mentioned in the Torah directly. And she's definitely not in the Bible. If you read, the Genesis, she's not there. Torah, Bible, anyway. She actually appears in a very early scripture called the Alphabet of Ben Sirah. But she's actually taken from Sumerian myth. Sumerian culture was goddess worshiping, okay? And Lilith was a succubus in Sumerian myth. And a succubus is a feminine deity of sorts. She's actually kind of a demon, at least in the viewpoint that we have now. And what a succubus does is it usually goes at night to men and has sex with them against their will and steals their seed for her power. And so this is the model that Lilith came from. We don't know necessarily what I haven't done enough research into understanding who Lilith was as the succubus in Sumerian myth, but that's what we know she came from. Okay. And so as Lilith came to the Garden of Eden, she was paired with Adam. They were consorts, so they were equals. And Adam tried to dominate her. Adam tried to have her submit to him. And there's this famous line about Lilith that she refused to lie beneath Adam. And this is what made her the most notorious creature who ever came from the Garden of Eden, because she would not lie beneath. And you can think about lie beneath in many different ways. One of them obviously being missionary position. And missionary position for most of history was the only approved position by religious institutions, okay? It was thought to be the least enjoyable position, which is kind of funny because I think that's the only thing, like a rule that somebody would make only if They'd never really had a lot of sex because, missionary kind of feels good. But that's one of the ways we can look at it, right? So Lilith had desire sexually to do more than just what Adam wanted, to do more than what the church was going, or the synagogue was going to approve of. Okay. But there's also this other form of submission. Lilith knew herself to be an equal to Adam. She knew herself to be made of the dust of the earth with him. Why would she submit to this guy, right? Like, unlike Eve, who came from Adam, and that was a symbolic thing that showed she was of him, she was less than him. So Adam trying his shit, he's trying to dominate her, he's trying to get her to submit, lie beneath me, bitch, right? And Lilith basically was like, fuck this, and she left the Garden of Eden, okay? It's official mythology, right? Fuck this. So when she left the Garden of Eden, Adam didn't just let her go. Because these guys never do, right? They're never just going to be like, okay, cool, bye. No, he wanted to dominate her. That was his goal. So what Adam did was he went to his version of God, which you can think of as Sky Daddy. And Sky Daddy sent 3 angels to track Lilith down, to hunt her down. And these angels found Lilith, and she's in a cave at this point, which symbol of the goddess, okay? She's in a cave, and she is birthing babies that she conceived while she was with Adam. And God knows who else. And she's birthing babies, and she's enjoying her solo time, enjoying her peace. And the angels are trying to convince her that she'd be much better off if she were to come back and just lie beneath Adam. And she basically was like, no, not going back. No, I left that place once. And so what happened was, like, you got to get this. Like, this is the craziest part of this myth. Get this. The angels cursed Lilith for refusing to return. They cursed her. And what they said to her is that we will kill 100 children every day in your name. The angels said, we will kill 100 children in your name, Lilith. And so this is why in Jewish folklore, Lilith is known as like the cause of infant mortality. There's amulets that babies have placed on them that actually bear the name of these 3 angels that will be spared. If the child will be spared if they have the angel's name on them. But it's very odd to me when you look at it, because the angels are doing the killing of these babies. It's like, think about SIDS, or kind of infant illness that takes babies. The angels are killing them in Lilith's name, and she gets blamed for it. She gets demonized. And Lilith was like, all Lilith was doing was being Lilith. Lilith was asking for what she wanted and refusing to only have one position, refusing to submit and shut up and be the good girl. And she got cursed. She got shunned. She got kicked away. Yet at the same time, she has always been here as a reminder that there's more than just the choice of submission and lying beneath and shutting up and dealing with it. We have always had this choice. And right now, at this point in our present time history, we are getting that choice in spades. We are beginning to actually have that choice available to us. We're no longer in the same paradigm that we were in centuries ago. So I'm going to take a deep breath in, because it's always, whenever we bring in a story of any of these mythical characters, they really do come through us, because we contain these universal truths of Lilith. We contain them of Eve. We contain them of Ishtar, of all of the different goddess figures and archetypes that exist within mythology. They're all within us, and they become activated when we start speaking of them. So if you notice anything in your body, you can just become aware of it. I'm aware of Lilith coming to you. So let's talk about what we're going to take away from Lilith's story, okay? So let's first, you have to understand the context of a story when it was created and how it was used to shape reality. Okay. So at this time, when Judaism was being conceptualized and spread across part of the world, there was a massive shift in how societies were structured. There's a great book called The Chalice and the Blade. Highly recommend it. It's like one of my favorite books of all time. It goes into the prehistory of this and how patriarchy came to be. Okay. In short, if you don't want to read the book, there were once these goddess based, earth centered traditions, like earth centered cultures, goddess based cultures. And women, there was not a matriarchy per se, but women were definitely like, it was Lilith and Adam, right? They were both made of the dust. And so what happened was, as this new model came in, as the Sky Daddy religions came in, Sky Daddy, God became less about the earth and more about the sky. And he became male. He became very vengeful and very jealous. Very jealous. Like, why is God so jealous? Why does God care if we have that God? Right? Like, I've never understood that. So, yeah, like, oh, also, I have this in my notes here. Like, I have to share that, like, the Adam and Eve thing is also, it has so many different things that mark the goddess tradition being broken, right? So the snake, the fruit trees, there's so many symbols within the Garden of Eden story, within Genesis, that are like the snake and the fruit trees were actually symbols directly associated with the goddess and with the priestesses and the priests that worshiped her. Okay. So these things were co-opted. Lilith was taken, remember, as a Sumerian, which would have been considered a pagan religion, a Sumerian goddess based religion brought into the Judaism and kind of helped us bridge. And then we were able to put a big X on Lilith and be like, she's bad. And therefore, Sumerian slash pagan, slash goddess worship bad. So the fact that Lilith refused to submit and she was then cursed, it demonstrates to us that in this new world that was being created at the time that that story was codified, we were now punishing women for having desires, especially sexual ones, right? If the women who were in this new world weren't just kind of cool, didn't just shut up and take it, then they would be cursed, they would be outcast, they would be shunned, and they would be blamed for the death of infants. It's and we wonder why it's so hard for us to say we enjoy sex, right? Because that's the shit we grew up with. Even if you did not grow up with Lilith, Lilith is in all of our culture. Lilith is here, like that understanding that you are going to be shunned if you are a slut. And a slut being someone who has desire, who enjoys sex, right? You are going to be shunned and outcast. And there's no coming back. Okay. But if you really look objectively, like at what Lilith did, what did Lilith actually do? She had an opinion about how her body was engaged and her life, probably, right? She had an opinion. I don't want to just lie beneath. No, fuck that. So it's it's kind of almost hilarious now. And I can say it's funny now because it's 2025 and it's not 1905. You see, I can say it's funny and we can all kind of laugh at this and we can say, you know, the things that we're talking about today because that old system is breaking. And it needs very little from us to actually continue breaking. All we have to do is just continue to walk toward this, I want to say new way, but it's actually like the really, really old way. And recognize that like we are no longer going to be shunned in the same way at the same level if we are sexually in charge, if we are agents of our own desire and agents of our own pleasure. It's not what it once was. I'm not trying to say it's all great and it's over. It still happens. It's not what it once was. And we need to see that. Um, One of the things I want to say too is like in some tellings, it's said that Lilith returns to the Garden of Eden and she sleeps with Adam against his will when he's asleep and steals his seed. And that is why like she's attributed as being a succubus again. That's the exact succubus behavior, right? So it's kind of an interesting thing to look at this. And the reason why I point that out is because like behind the curtain, men love a woman who is sexually active, and men, women, right? Like a partner, your sexual partner wants you to be like aware of your sexuality. It's so fun to fuck a woman who knows what she wants. And it doesn't mean being demanding. It doesn't mean being, bossy. It can. You can do that too, right? But behind the curtain, the men would like love this. And then when they're caught enjoying a woman who enjoys her own sexuality, they're like, she's a succubus. She stole me. She tempted me. She stole my power. She stole my seed. She got me when I was asleep and I couldn't help myself, right? So it's just like very classic slut shaming. And I think I said at the beginning, like that she was the very first woman who was ever slut shamed. So here we go. But again, our ability to poke holes in this myth means that we have turned some kind of a corner, that we are no longer in the cages that we were once in, that our grandmothers were once in, right? Like even in my lifetime, I'm 40, almost 48 years old. In my lifetime, I have seen this shift dramatically. I can't imagine where it's going to be in 30, 40 years. And this is why I say that these are spells, these social conditioning things, these myths, they're forms of spells. And spells don't last forever. Spells also can be broken. And so when there is such a strong spell as there has been against women owning their sexual power, one has to ask why? What's the big deal? What are we actually trying to hide? Why are we trying to go to these lengths? Like, you will be responsible for the deaths of infants because you liked to say what you wanted in bed. Why would we go to those extremes if there wasn't something really important to hide there? I believe there's tremendous power in our sexuality, in the feminine expression of sexuality. And so I want to draw you into a practice that is going to help you maybe touch that power on some level. But first, before we do that, I just want to have I love to do the chat as a way to just help us transition. So tell me, what did you take away from the Lilith story in the chat? Drop a chat to tell me, did you resonate with something? Like I like to have the concept of framing, which is just like, what do you like want to capture? Like, what do you want to like take a picture of in this story of Lilith? What stood out to you the most that you want to take with you? Love to hear your stuff in the chat. You can, or if you want to unmute, I'd be more than adore to hear people's voices. Reframing slut, right? Reframing slut. Like if we can reframe slut, then I think we could probably change a lot more than that. And we are.
I I what I feel is that Lilith was conceived and created as a whole person and moved around the world as a complete being, and that is still being criticized even today. Like women that walk around the world as a whole human are being told that they're masculine when in all like what we are is complete.
Yeah.
So that's super important for me.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a really great observation, right? This idea of like, oh, you're in your masculine, that kind of a concept, right? when it's like, what if you're just complete, you're whole unto yourself? Like there's this thing, like the original word virgin, actually really like the Virgin Mary, all of that. Like what that meant was a woman who was complete unto herself. She was married to herself. It wasn't chaste. Yeah, I see another in the chat. Lilith put herself first. Yeah. That is what I want you guys to do. I want all the women in my life to put themselves first and to just be like greedy little bitches, okay? And I guarantee you this, okay? Because if you've been socialized as a woman, you've been socialized to believe that being greedy is horrendous. It is the worst sin. It is the worst sin. Like you should always put everyone else first. And so I guarantee you that you will probably think that you're all the way over here if you're giving yourself permission to be greedy, but where you're going to be is just kind of in the middle. I can't say I've never met a woman who I feel would abuse that power, but like I have for sure. But for the most part, I think we're good. If we get a little bit more putting ourselves first, right? Yeah. And the final chat item I'll read here, that choice is available. When I grew up, I had no reference to choice. I had to be Eve. Yeah. There was no other role available. If I knew about Lilith sooner. Yeah. 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 I mean, if you knew about Lilith sooner, you'd probably know the story and the way it's been told, which is that she was not to be associated with. So, um, but you're unlearning it now, right? We still have time. That's the beauty. We still have time. We're still here. We still have time. Even if you're like 95 years old, we still have time. Yay. Okay, I'm going to go into a practice with you all. And this practice I am calling the Pussy Oracle. And I'm just going to let you know we're probably going to go a little bit over. I knew we were going to go a little bit over. We're probably going to go 10-ish over. So just plan accordingly. So, Pussy Oracle. I have this habit of asking women that I work with, my clients, what they want, like what they want in love and sex and relationships. Like, what do you want? What would feel good? And when I started asking them this question, I started to notice this answer that would non-answer. They didn't know how to answer, and they would get visibly flummoxed by it. Is that how you say that word? Flummoxed? Flummoxed? Anyway, they would get disturbed by this question. And what I saw happening there was A, they didn't know, okay? And that was clear. They had no idea what they wanted. They couldn't conceptualize what pleasure was like. They couldn't conceptualize being able to do what Lilith did. And then the second thing that happened is that they started to go into a cycle of blame, self-blame. They went into a cycle of self-criticism and said, oh my God, why don't I know this? I am such an awful person for not knowing this. I should not be even allowed to have a relationship because I can't speak my own needs. Anyone relate to that? Have you ever done that? Like, I don't know what I want, and therefore I'm a horrible person because I don't know what I want in bed, in relationships, right? Like I can't name this. But I want to say this to that. Should you really take the blame for not knowing what you want in sex and relationships and love when you've never been shown a model for that? And should you really take the blame when society has been like full on ostracizing and casting out women who do ask directly for what they want? Right? Lilith, babies are dying in her name today, according to some people, because she refused to lie beneath. So you're under that spell. You're under that spell. We all are. And you're breaking that spell, but it still affects you. And so the fact that you don't know how to say a little to the left or down, or I don't like it in that position, right? You're not able to voice these things is because of these two factors. You've never been shown how to find that information. You've never been shown good models for it. And you've been shown that you're going to be absolutely demonized if you do it, right? And so here's what I want to say is that anytime you've ever frozen in bed if you've ever clammed up, if you've ever let someone continue to do something that was uncomfortable or even hurt, and if you've ever been sexually assaulted and felt like you should have been able to tell them stop, remember what they did to Lilith. That's what you're up against. And then you shame yourself for not, like all this stuff comes in, right? And you shame yourself for not speaking up against any of this. And you see this is not going to end well. But what we're going to do right now is we're going to make this roadmap for you. We're going to make a beginning roadmap for you to understand how to make friends with a part of you that can actually guide you to have your greatest expression of pleasure. And as you receive this guidance toward this part, which is your pussy, I want you to see it as an invitation, as an initial connection, as a way that you will become both its student and its steward, its caretaker. So rather than using your mind to figure out, how do my breasts like to be touched? Do I like doggy style? Right? Your mind doesn't have that answer. Your pussy does. Okay? So we're going to go to a sort of meditation visualization. We're going to get into a little bit of metaphysics here. And I'll ask you to find yourself in a comfortable seat and practice getting a little greedy with what comfortable feels like. Like, I'm going to adjust my pillow here. That stool position is just like a little bit off. And I'm just going to get myself cozy. Let's get a little greedy in our comfort. And I'll invite you to close your eyes, or alternatively, you can gaze at one point with eyes open. You'll know which one you prefer. And as you feel comfortable and as you have your eyes fixed or closed, you can imagine that your attention is your greatest power. Wherever you place your attention will grow. So, first, let this attention power within you appear. Let it show up in your body as a point of light that is gathering in the center of your head to begin with. Some people see this point of light, and some people simply know it's there. Some people are confused by it. Allow yourself to imagine that it exists and it's real. Feel this attention light in the center of your head. And notice that you can move this attention point wherever you wish. And you can command that attention to move down your throat into your heart. Let it fill your chest, this attention. Notice what happens to your rib cage and your breasts and your physical and non-physical heart. And then begin to allow that attention to descend further, as if it's simply following gravity. It's going down your spinal cord until it finds its way to your pelvis. And specifically, bring this attention point to the point of your cervix. I always like to remind anybody that these organs are all energetic as much as they're physical. So many people who don't have a womb, and I will be mentioning things like a womb, clitoris, labia, etc., let them be either real, manifest, or energetic, magical. So let this attention point sit at the tip of your cervix. And as it occupies your cervix, notice any sensations that arise in your pelvis. Maybe there's heat or texture. Maybe you're noticing comfort or discomfort. From that point of your cervix, keeping your attention on your cervix, allow a beam of light to drop down, to descend between your legs down into the center of the planet. This is a connection of the earth to the earth. And it's a way to release using gravity, using the earth's desire to recycle unwanted things. And down this cord of light, down this cord of grounding, release anything that's heavy, anything that's not yours. Release also the expectation that you should know everything about how your pleasure works and about how your pussy works. Release the shame about your pussy, the shame about taste, smell, the shame about how it looks or it feels when it's orgasming, or the lack of orgasm. Simply allow these things to fall away. And now, attention back into your cervix. And we're going to do some conscious relaxation of your pussy. Comfort coming from relaxation, and comfort is the first step toward pleasure. So first, relax the muscles of your pelvis. Just put your attention on them, and intention to relax, drawing downward, softening. Relax your womb. Relax your cervix and your vaginal canal. Relax your labia, both the inner labia and the outer labia. And relax your clitoris, that organ whose sole purpose is for pleasure. And as you're going through this relaxation of your pussy, notice the stories that arise in your mind. They might be saying, oh my God, this is so dumb. This is hard. This is really, really bad. I'm not supposed to be here. Or this is really nice, and I cannot believe it's taken me this long to do this. As you know these stories, let yourself see them, because the moment you see the stories for what they are, they have less power over you. They're not ruling you from the shadows as they once did. And also remember that Lilith is here whispering in your ear. I'm here to remind you, you can ask for your pleasure. So now that you have made some attempt to connect to your pussy and soften here, perhaps you'll understand what I mean when I say that your pussy is an oracle. It's a guiding force. It is the mystery, and it's connected to the mystery. And when you lean into the mystery, you often find answers. We're going to treat your pussy like an oracle, like you might consult a tarot deck or a psychic. And we're going to ask one question. And know that you may or may not get a clear answer. But no matter what comes, know that you're closer to getting a clear answer. Your only requirement is to celebrate any attempt to break the spell that you've been under that says you shouldn't listen to your pussy, that your pussy doesn't have a voice, your pussy doesn't have opinions. Celebrate any attempt to break that spell. With your attention here in your pussy, feel your awareness awaken her. Feel her pulse with life and creation and pleasure. Feel how she loves your attention, even if she's been forgotten. Now we're going to ask her this question and ask her lovingly with deep care, as if you are laying a flower on her. And after you ask this question, you're simply going to wait and pause and listen with your inner ears. The response might come visually or in a voice. It might come in a symbol. It might be really confusing, and or you might know exactly what it means. Just like a dream, you can spend some time sitting with it, interpreting it. This is just an invitation to explore and connect with this part of you. So, with your attention in your pussy, begin to ask this question, and I will repeat it. What do you need from me to receive the full pleasure that you are capable of? Ask this of your pussy. What do you need from me to receive the full pleasure that you're capable of? Just collecting anything that you might have received, if anything. Collecting even just the experience of imagining that this is possible. If you want to write down anything, now would be a good time. Grab a notebook, jot down anything that might have come, or simply the sensations that you experienced, the awakening of this is a possibility. That your pussy is actually capable of receiving expansive pleasure. And you just have to ask her. Until you know what you want, you can't ask for what you want. And if you'd like to share in the chat anything, like even if it's a word, I don't have to understand what you mean. If you just want to say something in the chat to help cement what that was for you. Confusing, terrifying, really cool, exciting. There's a whole lot of possibilities of what you could have experienced there. It's unwritten story. I see permission. Yep. I'll say this, that out of all of the spiritual tools that I have learned and all of the expansive experiences that I've had, all of them boil down to somebody giving me permission. So I see that. Yeah. So another person got a very sharp response. Don't let them hurt me. Keep me safe. Yeah. Yep. Yep. I'm getting chills from that one. Whew. Because this is when we learn to use our voice. That is exactly what we're doing. Don't let them hurt me. Keep me safe. I am sacred. Don't let them denigrate me. And then all of a sudden, this fear of saying, yo, that hurts, it sort of evaporates when you begin to think of yourself as caring for your pussy. See trust in there too. Yeah, trust. Ooh, I could teach a whole class on trust, trusting your pussy. Maybe that'll be next month. Ooh, thank you. Okay, so we're going to move toward the closing, but I want to first, before we close officially, I want to offer you the next steps. I only have you for this 1 hour ish, a little bit over, and it's nowhere near the time that I have, the time that I want to have with you, right? Like I could be with you for 8 years and probably still not be done. But the number one thing that I want to share with you is that there is tremendous power available in our pleasure. Like that just few minutes of connecting to your pussy and look at all this permission, trust, keep me safe, right? Like think of if we did this more. Think of like what would come. We'd be fucking unstoppable, okay? Power is not power over. Power is not power over. Power, the new old version of power, that old version of power, is power from within, power with. It's the power of relationship. We have largely not, I want to say we've lost it, but God, it's close. Like if you have the dating app situation, right? Like it is damn close to us losing that power of understanding how to have a relationship and what comes from it. And I'm trying to tell you that it's us. It's women and the feminine are the leaders of pleasure and relationships. This is what we're meant to do. We are meant to hold eros. We're meant to have have to lead in the realm of love, in sexuality, in eroticism, right? This war world is just it's breaking apart, right? We have to, just like I was saying that some of my clients can't conceptualize what pleasure even feels like, right? Like we're so busy worried about this world falling apart, like we're picking apart all of the details in it. I'm not saying that that's incorrect, right? But like we're so busy with that part of it that we're forgetting to imagine what are we bringing in right now? What kind of world are we trying to bring in? And I guarantee you that pleasure is at the forefront because look at the memes. So there's two options for continuing this work, right? For continuing this path of the feminine sovereignty and power of pleasure. First, the solo thing, right? So do this pussy oracle meditation frequently. Feel her, speak to her, let her speak to you. And then eventually she will start to speak through you. You will start to find your voice. This is why this workshop is not about like, here are the tips that you could, like, I'm not going to fucking do that. I can't give you something that's inauthentic to you. What I can give you is an authentic roadmap to the part of you that does want to speak up. And she's just waiting for you to pay attention. So that's the thing one, okay? Thing two. Thing two is the work with me version. And I have this course I mentioned in the beginning called The Heartbreak Cure. And it's a course that is seeking to redefine love and intimacy as that power that the women hold, that the feminine holds. We're no longer letting these love and intimacy and relationships being something that's kind of foolish and silly, but witnessing that our own history is filled with many examples of the ways that love is clearly a form of power. Let's not even begin to get into the history because I will nerd out for the next hour and a half and I have to catch a ferry, okay? So what I want to say with the Heartbreak Cure is that love's power has always had a home within the feminine, okay? And it will always be that way. It is our role to guide the world in this direction. So by reclaiming love, that power that we put into other lovers, right? Like it's called the Heartbreak Cure because it focuses specifically on this concept of reclaiming what you felt was you're never going to be able to overcome this. Like you broke up with someone, they dumped you, right? You can't actually let them go. Your energy, like your attention, that power of attention is stuck in another person, and it's time to claim it back for you so that you can share that love more freely, knowing that it's only going to grow. So, this is about eros in its true sense, that eros, that Greek word for love, that is less about having a crush and more about this recognition that when we truly open to a person and they open back to us, that we're like kissing the divine. It's like this third thing happens when you fall in love, truly fall in love, not just having a crush, not just fucking, right? When you truly fall in love, it's like God appears to you, the goddess appears to you, not Sky Daddy. He's a little too jealous for that. You get this kiss from the divine that comes in. So, in short, the Heartbreak Cure, we've got 6 modules. I think there's 6 lessons within each module. You get 3 one-on-one calls with me. We're going to go deep and we're going to actually study a myth from the Vedic tradition, where we really redefine how love flows to us, not by forcing it, not by forcing it. And you're going to do practices. There's magical practices in there. There's sexual reclamation. There is self-love practices. There's journaling. All the stuff is in there about how to really move in a new way entirely, revolutionarily, about love and sexuality and relationships. So if you want in on this, what I'm going to offer you is I'm opening up 4 slots. Well, actually, one already got filled from somebody who was in my DMs before the call even started. So I've got 3 slots open for hour-long calls where we're going to just talk about your experience in relationships, where you feel stuck, and how to move forward with confidence. And then at the end of that call, if you're like, cool, I really want to continue this journey and sign up for the Heartbreak Cure, I would love that. I don't do hard pitches. I'm not trying to like force you into buying something that you're not really aligned with. Like, if you want to sit with this question for the next 2 months, that's totally fine. So I'm going to drop a link. I got to drop a link into the chat. And if you want to sign up for one of these calls, then please do. I'm going to put that in the email that goes out too with the recording, so that, maybe if the folks who are live here don't already jump on that, then there might be still some spaces available. So that's the Heartbreak Cure. But okay, so I'm going to shut my mouth here. I'm going to start to close. And before I close and we go into the Q&A for those who are here live still, and I shut off the recording, I want to close the official teaching portion for those of you who are on the call live and also those who are watching the recording. So the way that I want to close it is just by expressing tremendous gratitude for you showing up for this concept of having a voice, for you being courageous enough to imagine that there's a conversation to be had with your pussy and that she might speak back to you, for being brave enough to let Lilith touch you. And I want to thank you so much for being here, for the reclamation of love, the reclamation of eros, of letting it lead you. We are very clearly in a turning point in this world right now. The old ways are breaking apart without us having to do anything. And if we envision what we want to come in, we conceptualize the pleasure. I really believe that we can have it. She speaks through all of us. Thank you so much.